She is 16 years old. She's sitting on the edge of a bed in a 2-roomed house in a high-density suburb right here in the city of Harare. And she's doing what most teenagers do just before bed. She is scrolling on social media. You see, Zimbabwean social media is quite fascinating. She scrolls past a comedy skit and it's two men pretending to be a couple and they're arguing over airtime. She then scrolls past a TikTok live where adults are dancing and begging for roses. After this, she scrolls past a Facebook live where popular socialites are actually insulting each other and thousands are watching. She scrolls past a dance challenge. She scrolls past a pastor that is shouting and screaming to the camera. She scrolls past a funeral fundraising. And then she scrolls past a young girl that is crying about how her ex treated her. But then her thumb stops because she comes across something that does not look like it belongs in Zimbabwe. She comes across a reel of a young woman that is barely 25 years old that is standing on a very nice driveway at golden hour. This young woman is standing in front of a Benz and there is a giant red bonnet on top of the bonnet. And around her is hundreds and even thousands of red roses, something that she has never seen in real life. Floating around this lady are helium, pink and white balloons. And there's a drone shot that is pulling backwards. And beneath all this is a very small caption that says, "Soft Life." This video has not been shot on a cell phone. This video has been filmed professionally. It has been color graded professionally. It has been edited to trending songs. And because of this, she does not watch it once. She watches it the second time and she watches it the third time. Even after watching it multiple times back to back, she does not scroll past. She looks away from her phone and she looks at her mother, who is busy preparing tomato crates for the next day. Her mom is a vendor. She realizes that no one in her bloodline has ever owned a car. Her mom, her father, her grandmother, her grandfather, her aunties, her uncles, no one has ever owned a basic car. And there she is, seeing someone that is below the age of 25 driving a new Benz. 5 minutes ago, she was thinking about being a doctor, being an engineer, being a teacher, being a nurse. She was thinking about the amount of years that she has to endure for her to have a paying job. But now that older plan seems slow, boring, and most dangerously, it now seems unnecessary. Because here in 15 seconds of this particular vertical video is a faster route. She can attain all this that people in their 30s, 40s that have studied for 10, 15, 20 years have not been able to achieve. But what she does not realize is that she has been recruited and has been introduced to the Instagram baddie culture and the soft life, also known as sleigh queen lifestyle. And this is exactly what we're going to be talking about in today's Yap session. My name is Edlyn, and thank you so much for clicking on this particular video. If you're interested in the type of conversations we have here on this channel, please click the subscribe button and the bell so that you can be alerted every single time I upload the video. I aim to upload 2 to 3 times a week. So help me make this a possibility by sharing my videos, liking them, commenting. It really helps the channel and keeps me motivated. So before we go any further, we need to define key terms. And the first term we need to define is the term sleigh queen. So sleigh queen is a word that is used in mostly sub-Saharan African countries to describe a young woman who is a gold digger, who is active on social media and pretends to afford a lavish lifestyle. Some other definitions are quite modest. For example, this one says a highly fashionable, attractive woman who loves a luxurious lifestyle and often is sponsored by blessers or sugar daddies. The next definition is going to be Instagram baddie. I'm going to be using it interchangeably with sleigh queen based on the definitions that I offer in this particular video. An Instagram baddie is a social media aesthetic characterized by a highly confident, glamorous, and a polished persona. And lastly, we need to define envy economy. And this is a market system powered by manufactured desire, social comparison, and FOMO, fear of missing out. So it is not being driven by pure necessity. It is being driven by psychological drive to keep up with pace, trends, status of peers, and influencers. So now that we've gotten this out of the way, I need to make sure that we're not going to be misrepresenting what a sleigh queen is, because I've realized that a lot of people actually call any woman that they disagree with a sleigh queen. They use it as an insult to sometimes women who pay particular attention to their looks, and this is not exactly exactly what this word means. So I'm just going to give you 2 to 3 differences that can help you when you're spotting someone that is a slay queen and someone who's not a slay queen. Because a woman can look good, can have her makeup on point, can have her hair on point, can have her dresses on point, and still not be a slay queen. So the first telltale sign that someone is not a slay queen, even though they might look good, is the fact that they do not curate each and every post that they make on social media. They can post casual pictures, they can post pictures with friends and family. It does not have to feel like content. But when Instagram baddies do it, it's studio lit, professionally shot. It always has an intention to cause envy. The second telltale sign is the captions. Normal people post pictures, videos, or social media posts with meaningful captions. They somehow relate with the captions. But when it comes to Instagram baddies, the captions always mention the soft life, always mention how unbothered they are, always mention how blessed they are. There is just this mysterious way of captioning their pictures, videos, or posts on social media. It's very difficult to explain, but if you have been on Instagram or on other social media platforms and you follow these types of women, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's always like a mysterious quote from somewhere, or maybe let's say a song lyric that is bragging or something like that. Number 3, if a normal person travels, they can document their experience, they can document where they stay, they can document a lot of things about their travel. But when it comes to the Instagram baddie, every single post is about how luxurious their trip was. It's about them. The trip is never about the experience. It's never about the actual atmosphere or the places that they visited. It is about how they themselves appeared when they went to these places. So it's very inward focused, while normal people are very outward focused. If you look at the stories of these people, right, they're so different. The stories of normal people have rants, they have memes, they're funny jokes, they share other people's content. It's just random right there. But when it's an Instagram baddie, everything is curated. It's either they're in an expensive club, expensive restaurant, they're showing their expensive perfume, they're showing their bracelets. They can show a bit of their own personal life here or there for relatability purposes, but majority of the time they are just showing you what you cannot have. At the end of the day, the normal person just looks like someone that is just living their life, and the Instagram baddie looks like someone that is selling a lifestyle. The first thing we need to understand before we dive any further is that a slay queen is not actually a person. It's a product. It's an aesthetic system. It is a content pipeline. And if you live in Harare or have gallivanted on Instagram streets, you have seen this exact template that I'm about to tell you. First thing is that there is so much emphasis on appearance, especially the body. They're usually very snatched. They usually have an hourglass. They usually have gotten a BBL. They usually have very glowing skin, very oiled up skin. Sometimes they even lighten it, but it is not always the case. They always have the expensive lace fronts. They have specific stylists that do their hair, their nails. They always get facials. There's so much emphasis on how they look. Number 2, there's so much emphasis on the wardrobe, the type of dresses, the type of clothing. If you've been on Instagram for a long time, you've noticed that they all dress almost the same. They have the same pieces in their closets. And they always have this very pronounced desire or obsession with heels. Heels that majority of the people following them can never be able to buy. They have obsession with labels and expensive, luxurious brands. They always make sure to show you that they have a Louis Vuitton belt, they have a Chanel handbag, they have a Birkin, they have a Dior tote bag, they have sometimes Gucci suitcases, they have Versace sunglasses, they have YSL sandals. If you actually pay attention, you start to notice that the cinematography in these pictures or videos is very engineered to make sure that the labels are very visible, because the intention is to show you that you cannot afford what I'm wearing right now. You cannot afford it. You're too poor to be wearing what I'm wearing right now. Number 3 is actually the events and the places that they go to. It's always out of the reach for the average person. They always go to lunch where majority of the people cannot afford to go. They're always traveling to expensive destinations. They usually go Dubai, Santan, the Maldives, Sun City. They stay at the most expensive hotels. They make sure to show you that the hotel stays are very expensive. Number 4 is the type of content that they make. Everything is so professionally filmed, professionally edited. It is done with intention. The poses are perfect. The skin is perfect. The clothes are labeled. The shoes are what you cannot afford. Birthday parties are actually content opportunities. Even the perfume on her dresser that she's going to post a picture of, it is done with intention. You're supposed to see that this perfume is not what you can afford. Now, none of this by action or by design is actually problematic at all. People dress up, people look good, people have to look good for society, right? People post, this is just normal life. The difference is that for the Instagram baddie, all this is combined with the intention of causing envy. All this content that is being made is actually an instrument, and its one job is to generate envy in people. Because you see, the average person in Zimbabwe will never drive a Lamborghini, will never drive a Range Rover, will never drive a G-Wagon, will never afford trips to Dubai, will never afford trips to the Maldives, will never afford to sleep at the Burj Al Khalifa. Hope I pronounced that correctly. This is not me demotivating people. It is just demographics. It's just numbers. It's just reality. Broadcasting this type of life relentlessly every single day of your life in a country where majority of the people cannot afford bread and eggs on a daily basis. You are not just sharing your life. You're actually weaponizing envy. And you're not just framing it as something that can be achieved. You're painting it as something that you deserve. In this system, envy is not a side effect. Envy is the product. The whole machine exists to manufacture it, to package it, to distribute it, and to monetize it. But here's the clever part of the Slay Queen content machine, or the Instagram baddie content machine, that you've never really thought about. It is not just luxury they post, because luxury is very easy to brand as evil, right? So they mix luxury and relatability. So today she might post herself in business class traveling to a holiday destination, and tomorrow she'll post that she just broke a nail. The next day she'll post her Birkin, and the next day she'll post about her babies and how, they've lost their teeth. The next day she's showing off Cartier bracelets, and the next day she's just cooking, breakfast for her man. So then if someone is flexing and also being relatable, the combination is, if I can do it, why can't you do it? This is not done by accident. They actually know that it does work. Just by the flexing and the relatability, you've created something quite powerful, and that is aspiration. People start to aspire to be like you because they feel like they can also be exactly like you. But it's even worse, because when you start to relate to someone and they have much more than you have, you start wondering to yourself, if they can get it, how come I can't? How come they can travel the world in a private jet and I can't? And yet they're younger than me, they don't work as hard as me. How come they're able to live this life that I want to live too, and yet they don't work as hard as me? So let's go off script for a while and let's have a very intimate conversation right now. It does not need much, just a bit of common sense. This lifestyle cannot be sponsored by a job, cannot be funded by inheritance, at least not most of it. Something that everyone knows but is afraid of saying publicly is the fact that these women are being funded by men. In Southern Africa, we call these people blessers. I've seen blessers from multiple countries here in sub-Saharan Africa, so I know that this concept does not exist in the Zimbabwean or South African situation alone. So what you see when you follow Slay Queens or Instagram baddies is the fact that they always receive a lot of gifts. They receive expensive flowers, they receive expensive cars, expensive labels. Their presents are always on the expensive side. If you've ever noticed, the sender of the flowers is never named. The donor is never tagged on her posts. And when a trip happens and she travels to these exotic resorts and destinations, she is always alone in the pictures. So the man actually pays for the frame, but is rarely in the frame. And the reason is very, very obvious. It's either the man is married or he's politically exposed. So although they like this language of self-made, boss babe, soft life, hustle, entrepreneur, the truth is majority of them get their lifestyles funded by a very connected older man. And to be honest, some of these women do really have real side hustles that actually pay okay, but not to the extent of affording a Lamborghini or a G-Wagon. That is the obvious part. Because the difference is, a real business owner posts more of the process and the difficulties of running a business. But the Slay Queen is very specific. She shows the Dubai trip. She shows the business class. She shows the Maldives trip. She shows the Paris trip. She shows the entrepreneur. She shows the champagne life. How can a lifestyle be provided as proof of a skill when the skill itself is not being demonstrated? For me, what I find scary, especially in this type of content, is the idea that a woman's worth is measured by how much a man is willing to splurge on her. Because really what is happening is that her independence is being measured by how dependent she is to a man. Her power is being defined as how attractive she is to the men that fund her lifestyle. So this is actively working against women empowerment, because it is training women that all they need to do is to be found appealing by a certain kind of men, and they can live in luxury. So between working hard for 10 to 20 years for a skill to get employed and simply being attractive to a man who has money and he'll fund your lifestyle, which one would be more attractive to a young woman? So 16 to 18-year-olds that are seeing this content on a daily basis on social media, they are being trained to not see the value of working hard, of learning hard, of studying hard, and doing these normal jobs that do not have Lamborghini Range Rovers or expensive trips around the world. You see, the primary audience of slave queen content or Instagram baddie content are actually young adolescent women. And it is because they're very naive. It is because they're very impressionable. And it is because they haven't lived life enough to understand the complex dynamics of human interaction. Some of these girls are still teenagers. Some of these girls are still in high school. Some of them have not even reached O-levels yet. And they're forming their very first picture of what it means to be a successful, attractive young woman and what you deserve as a young woman. They start to feel like if a man is really attracted to you and if a man really wants you, he needs to do all these things for you. They're learning that their body is inadequate. They need to look a specific way. They need to surgically enhance themselves to have a very tiny waist and have wide hips for them to be found worth spending on by men. They're also learning that status is in their access. The clubs that they'll be able to access, the men they'll be able to access, the hotels they'll be able to access, the brands they'll be able to access, all these things. If you don't have access to these things, then you are worth less. She is also learning that female intelligence is the ability to extract, especially from the system and from men. Instead of learning that she needs to work hard for herself and be self-sufficient, she's learning that she needs to extract from men. She's also learning in real life through the soft life concept that hard work is for people that are not smart enough. That the ultimate goal in life is to live as soft as possible, making money without breaking a sweat. She's also learning that the way out, the way to win is not to learn, it is not to make, it is not to start, it is not to invent, but it is to decorate yourself enough, make yourself as attractive as possible to be chosen and picked by rich men. And this is very catastrophic for a developing country like ourselves. Zimbabwe needs people that are going to spend the next 5 to 20 years learning and mastering a craft so that our country can develop. But Slay Queen soft life content is teaching girls that they can achieve a certain lifestyle without having to break a sweat, that they can live soft and live very comfortably. You cannot tell me that if you put a soft life baddie here and if you put a teacher on the other side and you present them to an 18-year-old. Like I said, these young adolescent women are very naive. They don't realize that looks are not the best platform to build your identity on, because they fade. Something can happen to you. You can have an accident. You can literally develop a disease, and tomorrow you won't be as attractive as you were the day before. You also don't realize that blessers can leave anytime. They can see a younger, more beautiful version of yourself and leave you. What happens to you when you no longer have the source of your funding? The Insta baddie culture and the slay queen culture also pushes very unconventional skincare routines. It also pushes unconventional surgeries, unconventional beauty secrets. All these things can influence young women to harm their own bodies, lightening their skin, IV drips. These things can actually damage their kidneys and their liver. There are also a lot of political and legal risks. If you're dealing with men that have a lot of money from doing very shady things, you are also at risk of 1, going to jail yourself, 2, being dragged into things that you don't know about. So let's talk about who actually benefits from this culture and this type of content. Number 1 is the political class. When people are distracted by this type of content, they usually will not pay attention to things that actually matter. Because this content is very striking and is very attractive. A lot of young women pay too much attention on things that actually do not change their lives, their environment, or their own country. So slay queen lifestyle is an effective distraction for a lot of envious people who think that one day they'll just wake up and be able to live this lifestyle while not paying attention to how their country is being run. Number 2, it is the platforms. The platforms actually benefit from this culture. Algorithms make money from engagement. And there's nothing more engaging to a woman than a woman that appears to be more attractive than you living a life that you could only dream of. So the envy economy is actually the backbone of Instagram's revenue. They make money from it. They know exactly what to show you so that they increase your watch time or the time that you spend on the app. So they're going to keep showing you stuff that they know you're going to envy so that you remain on the app and make them even more money. Number 3 is the luxury brands. A lot of us, including me, would have never known that Dior makes tote bags, would have never known about the Van Cleef bracelets if it was not for slay queens. So these women are literally advertising these brands for free. Number 4, it is the idea that women should depend on men. Soft life is usually connected to a man supporting your life just because you're attractive. So they're actually undoing what women empowerment has been trying to do or achieve for the past few decades. Training women to be independent, training women to work for their money, training women to develop skills, training women to be involved in the economy. But the soft life pandemic is teaching women that you can literally live the life of your dreams without lifting a finger, which is something that is not realistic. So before we go any further, I want to be clear about something, okay? This is not a hit piece on individuals. This is not supposed to start a hate train against individuals or people that are considered to be slay queens or Instagram baddies. That is not the point of this video. And let me tell you something. A lot of people are going to be agreeing with me in the comment section, not because they understand how exploitative the system is or understand how problematic this whole culture is, but because they're envious, right? There are so many people that only fight a system because of their own position in the system, not because they actually want the system to be dismantled. The moment that they get a position in the system, they will actually reinforce and enforce the system. So a lot of people that claim to be against Insta baddie culture or slay queen culture are not entirely against it. They just hate it because they're not part of it or they're not benefiting from it. So we need to be very careful when we're critiquing this whole system to make sure that we are critiquing the system, not individuals. Because many of these women in this ecosystem are actually victims. They're victims of poverty, they're victims of scarcity, they're victims of less opportunity. I mean, if you grow up in a country where getting a degree does not guarantee you a job, where the formal economy has literally collapsed, where the men with money are literally the men in politics, and where every single day Instagram tells you what success looks like, choosing this particular lifestyle seems like a very rational economic decision, doesn't it? So the problem itself is not largely the individual slay queens themselves. They are not to blame for this. The biggest problem is the audience. It is us, the people that go on these platforms. We are the ones that tell the algorithms what content we want to watch. We are the people that view. We are the people that double tap. We're the people that share. We're the people that comment. We are the people that are making this content relevant. The envy economy itself only works because people are buying the product. If people are not buying the product, the economy is going to collapse. So the slay queen lifestyle, culture, baddie culture, envy economy is only functional because us, the people, fuel it. We are the ones to blame for what it has become and how our children are being exposed to, because we desire these things without actually realizing that when we watch these things because we also want to live this lifestyle, what we're doing is we're actually promoting the content, and much more of our kids are going to be consuming that content, and unfortunately they are going to start viewing hard life as a bad thing, and they're all going to start craving the soft life, a life that is luxurious but has no clear source of income. My name is Edlene, and thank you so much for watching my video. See you in the next one. Ciao.